Hi everyone, Chris from Bikers of Spania here again, and today I fancied an English breakfast, so we're going to head down to Benidorm, see what we can find. So I thought on the way there we'd have a little bit of a chat. It seems to be ages since I've had a little bit of a chat with you all. I know I've oh, more cyclists. This is one of the best motorbiking roads in the area. Unfortunately, it's also one of the best cycling roads in the area, and it's regularly part of the Vuelta de España and other big cycling races, national and where the national folks and the international folks come and play. So in the winter, or in the cooler times of year, you get loads of cyclists. Personally, I don't mind them because I've done quite a lot of cycling, well, mountain biking myself, but a lot of people get annoyed with them, shall we say. I find the best thing, give them a wide berth, make sure they have plenty of room, don't overtake them anywhere daft, don't try and wind them up, and you're usually okay. Mostly they're very polite, they're nice people, they're just like me and you. But then, being a cyclist myself occasionally, not so much these days to be honest, too fat. The amount of cars that have skimmed the end of my handlebars when I've been out, you know, give a metre and a half, really, more like 2 or 3 inches. I've actually been run into a couple of times, so there's no wonder they get pissed off, really. There's no reason for jumping red lights and things like that. Anyway, that's the cyclist rant over. Let's try and talk about motorbikey stuff. Last weekend was MotoGP at Catalonia, and I had 3 tickets to go, one for me, one for my wife, and one for my wife's aunt. She's visiting from Australia and had never been to a MotoGP, so we thought we'd take her there. That'd be a nice day out for her. It's quite a long way from here, it's about a 5-hour drive. But we booked a weekend, all ready to go. Unfortunately, a couple of days before, the dogs were diagnosed with kennel cough, so they couldn't go into the kennels. I didn't have anybody else to look after them because they're quite big and boisterous. They're only a year and a half, not even a year and a half old, and they're very excitable, so it wasn't fair to expect any of the older relatives to look after them. So one of us had to stay at home. Unfortunately, that person was me. So I missed the MotoGP. My wife would have normally volunteered because she's not so keen on MotoGP anyway. She was just going because her aunt was going. But they had appointments in Barcelona on Monday morning, so they had to go to Barcelona anyway. So it meant that I was the one left. Not that I minded, they're my dogs, you know, it's just a bit of a shame. And but she did manage to get me the KTM merch. We'd booked seats in the KTM stand, so we ended up with she took my ticket with her. I went to see the KTM people, and kindly they let me have my free merch even though I wasn't there. Hopefully there'll be a picture on the screen somewhere. This road never gets old. It's an absolutely awesome view. Lovely corners. You can see, mostly you can see a long way. Because cyclists are the only real issue on it. You got to watch for cars as well, because as with everywhere else in Spain, they cut corners. So what else can I tell you? Yeah, so we've had a bit of a disaster with the dogs. They're both getting better now. They've been a week, 10 days, and they're improving, so that's all right. And then this weekend, or Thursday, Friday actually, last week, the little, what we thought was a tick bite on one of the cat's ears, that developed and developed. We treated it for a couple of weeks and took him to the vets, and it's skin cancer. So one of my cats now has one ear, the other one's on its way to a lab to test it. So all good fun. Animals are wonderful. Anyway, I don't mind. Awesome views along here. What can I tell you motorbike related? Well, not a lot actually. I haven't done very much riding recently. It's too hot this time of year. I mean, we're into September now, but July, August, it's too warm. I mean, people do ride bikes. They'll be out on not quite flip-flops and shorts, not in the mountains where I am, but they'll be wearing, people go backwards and forwards to work in shorts and t-shirts, pair of trainers, things like this, and I just won't do it. You know, it's not worth it. I love biking, but I'm not going to, risk injuring myself like that just to get on my bike a little bit. It's not worth it, and I don't need it to go to work, so that helps a lot. I have the car for that, and it has aircon. I have been out on the CRF. I was out on that last weekend I think, or maybe the weekend before now. Seems like ages ago. And I had a little bimble on some of the lanes. That's good, really good fun. But even with that, this time of year, it's all right riding it to the lanes, because I wear a mesh jacket and a pair of motorbike jeans, so it's not too bad to ride to the lanes. But as soon as you're actually doing anything energetic, stood up, enjoying the countryside, you just get hotter and hotter and hotter. The bike gets hotter, on the climbs and things like that, so it's a bit too warm for it. Anyway, so just got a glimpse of Benidorm over the top of the hills. The Mediterranean will be there in, it's about half hour, 40 minutes from my house. But I had the CRF had to go for its ITV for my friends in the UK. That's like the MOT. It's biannual rather than annual, so that's nice. But it's not run by garages, but in Spain it's a separate company, separate business organisation that you have to make an appointment for and get your bikes or cars or lorries or coaches or whatever in for. Anyway, I had a little bit of an issue because I had all of the centres near to me are owned by the same company. They will only let you make 2 appointments at once, and I ended up with 3 vehicles that all needed doing at the same time, 2 bikes and a car. So as I need the car for work, I booked that one in, and I booked the CRF in. That's when I found out that I could only do 2. So my poor old KTM is sat at home with no ITV at the moment, and I couldn't book it until one of the others had passed, because then I would only have 2 appointments again. So that's not going to be back on the road until I think it's the 11th of October, which is a bit rubbish really. The seems to be a work to rule or some sort of protest going on at the moment, so you can't get appointments very easily. If we look on the system, it's sort of 6 or 8 weeks in front. Whereas when I first moved to Spain 20 years ago, you would just go and queue at the centre in the morning. You'd go at 7:30 in the morning, usually by 9 o'clock you're out again. The test itself for a car or bike is 15 minutes, it's not very long. But anyway, yeah, so the CRF passed, and that one was actually in first, and then I booked the KTM, then the car passed. Nothing else is due until next year now, I don't think. Well, actually my Suzuki's due, that was due in February, but it hasn't been on the road for over a year now, I'm sad to say, it is very sad as well. I really would like to get it back on the road. But I've been inspired recently by Teapot 1. Bruce has got the beast back on the road, or just about. He's just waiting for an MOT. And he'll have his round the world GSXR back on the road. So that's inspired me a little bit. I need to get mine done. I mean, really, all mine needs is a clean up, a service and a new battery. That's why it's not on the road. My son decided that he should borrow the battery to go on his Kawasaki because that was dead. I actually said he could, I was away on holiday at the time, and eventually he paid me for it, but then I didn't get round to buying a new one. So my Suzuki has been off the road since, I think it was actually March last year, which is a bit of a shame. So that's over 18 months now. But I'll do it. I don't ride it very much anyway. I only do maybe 500k a year on it. It's one of those bikes, I've owned it for 23 years. I bought it new. I imported it to Spain when I moved here 21 years ago, and it's one of those bikes that just puts a massive grin on your face whenever you ride it. It's not great for roads like this. It really does sort of do in your wrists and your back and things like that. It does me anyway. I mean, when I bought it, when I picked it up, I was 29, not 29 anymore. So I do struggle a little bit with it, but I like riding it. You know, even if I only go out and do half an hour, just do a very short bit, I come back with a silly grin on my face, which changes my mood for the rest of the day. So hopefully I can get that sorted out. But we've got a few things going on this year, a few things left to do. So far bike related, I've been to the Isle of Man to do a Teapot 1 clan meetup. Flew in, hired a bike and flew back. There's no video of that, there is an article on the website. I decided in the end not to take any cameras. Don't have to video everything, and I would just go and have a nice weekend with like-minded people, have a little bit to drink and ride motorbikes. I hired a Suzuki V-Strom from Jason Griffiths on the Isle of Man. It was really well prepped and absolutely superb. I enjoyed riding it actually. And just after I went to the Isle of Man, I decided that I was going to get rid of the BMW. That's gone, GSA. There's a video about that on the on YouTube channel. And I bought the bike I'm riding, which is a Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro, which I'm getting on alright with. I find the seat uncomfortable. That's the only thing. And I don't mean uncomfortable for a short journey. The longest journey I did on it in one day was 865 kilometres, coming back from the ABR festival in the UK. That video hopefully will be on YouTube very soon. But I don't find the seat as comfortable. It's not as comfortable as the GSA was, but it's lower, it's lighter, much easier to manoeuvre around my garage and things like that. But I'll tell you all about that in the other video. Go and have a check it out. There might be a link somewhere if I can work out how to do it. So that went, this arrived, and then as I said, in June I went across to the UK for the ABR festival. Did the Plymouth Santander Plymouth ferry. Had a few days in England before I went to ABR. Met up with an old work colleague, and that was good fun. Then ABR festival for a few days, met up with a load of people I know. I actually went completely on my own, but I knew people who were going to be there, so that was good. Test rode the KTM 890 Adventure R, which is an awesome bike. That video is on the channel as well. There'll be a little bit more of that when I do the ABR video itself. Then I had a couple of days on the way back. I had a little bit of time in the Cotswolds. Went to Diddley Squat Farm, things like that. Anyway, that'll all be in the other video. So, things coming up this year. MotoGP I was supposed to be going to, and I didn't. But next I've got, in a week or two, I'm going to Ireland, taking the Triumph that I'm riding. That's Bilbao to Rosslare ferry, and then we're going to have a go at the Wild Atlantic Way. Whereas most people head straight north and into Northern Ireland and round the top, I'm going to head west from Rosslare through Cork, and I'm going to do the Wild Atlantic Way from the bottom. I won't do it all, I'm only there for a week. I'll do as much as I can. So that'll be fun. And then a little bit later on in the year I'm going to EICMA, back there again. This will be the third year. Going to look at all the new bikes in Milan. Always look forward to that, that's an awesome trip. And then I'm going to the Canaries to test a couple of motorbikes. More about that later. Anyway, so it's a busy year this year, and I'm fitting in a little bit of trail riding on the CRF, and hopefully once the KTM's back on the road again, I shall get out on that too. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy these corners. And I'll see you a bit later. So here we are, Avenida Mediterraneo in Benidorm, on our way for some breakfast. I've altered this an awful lot in the 20 years I've lived here, and certainly in the 30 years since I first came here on holiday. There are now 30 km/h limits, 20 km/h limits. I think some of it's even 10, I was told the other day. On the Triumph I can actually do 20 or 30. 30 is easier. If you get it down into second gear you can do 20 km/h quite comfortably. The KTM on the other hand is an absolute nightmare trying to get to 20 km/h. It's first gear. In second gear it coughs and splutters and struggles. You put it in first gear and you can do 20, but any slight whiff of throttle and it's darting about. It's quite entertaining, so you have to be a little bit careful. There's quite a few places in Spain are now doing slower and slower speed limits, usually near schools, but places like this as well. So we're early-ish on a Sunday morning, it's 10:30 in September, And the cafes and bars, well, the cafes tend to open about 9 o'clock. This is in the Rincon end of Benidorm, which is where a lot of the English people come on holiday. This is Levante and Poniente, which are east wind and west wind. And Benidorm split like that, with the old town in the middle. And this area of Levante is the Rincon. It's where all the big bars are and where everybody comes partying. It's actually quite good fun. I did it for my son's stag night last year. And we had a good laugh, to be honest. Not that I can do that very often. We took the last train to Benidorm and got here about 10 o'clock at night, 9:30 I think it was, 9:45, and partied all night, and then got the 7 o'clock train back home in the morning. First time I've done that while I've lived here, but it's quite a few years before that since I've had an all-nighter. Good fun though. For those of you that watch the series Benidorm, one of the bars that they used is on the right. It's one that looks like a boat, sort of, there. And one of the hotels they used was just up here on the left. See if I can remember which one it was. That one there. Sol Pelicanos Hojas. I used the bar area, I think, in there and around the swimming pool, as well as many other places in Benidorm. Now the worst part about coming here, like I said, is all limits. Now this part of Benidorm where we have to go to get to the cafe I want to go to this morning is horrendous. They've changed all the priorities. This road that I'm coming up to, I'm going to turn left onto here. This was one of the main roads in. It goes past Benidorm Palace, if any of you ever know that. But now, this road is... This road has become ridiculous. Some of the side roads have priority, sometimes the main road has priority. They've put cycling lanes right down the middle. There's a stop line at each junction, or a giveaway sign at each junction, and the cyclists take absolutely no notice of them. And people also rent disabled buggies. They do double ones here, which is quite comical, and I think most people use them because, you know, it's easier to get about when you're drunk. But they ride those up the middle of the road as well. So occasionally there are big accidents. It's not good to see. Anyway, onwards to the cafe. Bacon and egg, here we come. So we're going to one just up here on the right. It's called the Corner Bar. They do a nice breakfast. It's not very good for parking, because it's normally full. They don't have their own. You can usually get parked somewhere. See if we can find a table. Probably have to sit inside. I don't mind that though. I definitely don't want to be sat in the sun. See you in a bit, folks.